Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Śaṅkaram Loka Śaṅkaram Śaṅkaram Śaṅkaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krito Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Om Namah Pranavartaya Shuddha Jnanaika Murtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadashiva Samarambham Vyasa Śaṅkara Madhyamam Asmadacharya Pariyantam Vande Guru Paramparam. In the first 3 lines of the first verse, Acharya looked at brahmacharyam, a position where one studies to understand the structure of life. Generally, people grow up. Physical growth, there's nothing to stop. Everything grows physically. A cow also grows physically. Goes through all the 6 stages of growth. Asti, Jayate, Vardhate, Parinamate, Apakshiyate, and Vinashyati. Grows, is born, grows, and grows and grows and grows till it reaches automatically the stage of metamorphosis when the body is capable of reproducing. Then after some time, it is what they call in the West going over the hill. The body begins to deteriorate and eventually dies. This is a natural process for any living being. One doesn't have to make any effort at all. This happens automatically. But growth requires maturity. For a human being, that is the biggest difference between any other living being and a human being. Somebody asked Swami G once, having seen a wonderful program on Animal Planet, and she was watching this leopard bring up 2 cubs, protected them, taught them to hunt, allowed them to play all over her till they grew up. And she thought to herself, what is the difference between this animal and I? I've also done the same thing. And Swami said, the difference is that leopard will never go to its guru and ask the same question. The difference. So think about it. Think what is this growth that we're talking about at the different stages of our evolution? Brahmacharyam, Grahastham, Vanaprastha. What is the difference? That understanding of the structure of life, which no other being has been given the power to think about and discriminate. How many people really ask this question of themselves? That defines really how much they are using the capacity to think, to be a human, has been used. In the Gita, Arjuna says, I have karpanya dosha. Kripana is a miser. Why is he calling himself a miser? Miser is one who has wealth traditionally, but doesn't use it. When Bhagavan has given us this capacity to think and analyze, we also, if we don't use, are also misers. So, Acharya has taken it step by step and said, this is what you do in the initial stages. You understand the structure of life, you understand where you're going. You know, therefore, a destination. Therefore, you can set a path. Therefore, you can analyze what will take you away from the path and what will help you along the path. Now we understand why so many human beings struggle. Because this clarity was never given to them. They never made an effort to find this out. All these disasters and wars that are going around all over us is the result of this unthinking living. There has to be this growth, and there has to be a structure for the growth. Growth is not merely that I become adult, I earn money, I earn more money than the other fellow. That is not growth. That Pachakam has to come. So Acharya is focusing on that and saying, these steps you take, may these steps be taken by you. And in the first 3 lines, having clearly laid out the process, Acharya says, think. Atmecha vyavasiyatam. May this nature of Atma be contemplated upon with the focus. Because you have understood and studied the structure of life, the goal of life as that human goal is to understand the reality of life, the reality of the self. May one gain the ability to question and understand what is this Atma? What is I? It is not a question which you can ask somebody else and he will tell you, because he has the same problem that I have. 99.99% of the people don't even think about it. Manushyanam sahastreshu kaschit yatati siddhaye yatatanam siddhanam kaschit mam veti tattvataha. Very, very, very few people even make an attempt to understand. And of those who make an effort to understand, very, very few people understand me in reality, says Bhagavan. Understanding Bhagavan means understanding I. It is why I keep talking about Ananya Yoga, Ananya Bhakti. Bhakti by which I understand Mattaha Anyata Na, that Ishvara is non-separate from me. Therefore, Atmecha Vyavasiyatam, that also implies that I stop worrying about this is mine, this is I have to get, this I have got, this I have to preserve. Therefore, he says, Nijagrahat Turnam Vinirgamyatam. May this Alpa Ichha for things of the Jagat, my house, my children. The moment I say my children, I'm sure immediately thought comes, Swami G asked me to give up my children. It will also come. That not that it doesn't, it says don't care about the children. But if you follow the structure and the system, it just falls in place. Mamatvam goes. दुनिया में खाली हाथ आए थे, खाली हाथ जाएंगे. We came with nothing into this world, crying. When you go in the Sharira, you will go empty-handed again. Na हाथी है, ना घोड़ा है. सबको चेंज होके जाना है. But you can go with a smile on your face if these lines have been followed. Atmecha vyavasiyatam nijagrahat turnam vinirgamyatam. Turnam means quickly. So covers the third stage in the structure of life. Vanaprastha. It is not something which comes naturally to say, I give up my house, I give up in the sense that I don't mentally say I own. There's nothing you own, not even your body. There are so many claimants on your body also. And even the mind is not yours. You've given so many pieces of your mind to so many people that all the pieces are gone. Nothing can you own. How can I sustain this thought? How can one be clear about it? By this process, I've already understood that this is what I need to do. But in practice, to sustain that is not very easy. Sangasastu vidhiyatam. If you remain in the company of people who are all charvakas, then the chances are that it will keep pulling you away from it. Therefore, Satpurusha Sangam is what one needs to seek. The company of others who also have reached the same level of conclusion. Satpurusha literally means person who is understood Satyam as I. That is why I sometimes wonder why many people call themselves Sadguru. A Sadguru is one who has understood that Satyam as I and who is able to communicate it to other people. He is a Sadguru. Satpurusha is also one. That Purusha is Sat, and that is understood. Seek company of such people. And Swami G, there are not many people in the world. Out of the billions and billions of people in the world, there are probably a handful. Where do you go and look for them? Even if you can't find Satpurusha so readily, others who have similar quest would be a good starting point. Others who also are seeking the company of Satpurusha, assuming that one has already followed these steps, the first 12 steps, one is also a seeker of Satyam, Atmecha. And therefore, others also who are seeking the same thing, also looking for the same for you. Dasastu vidhiyatam. And in this process of seeking the Sangha of Satpurusha, Satsang, we hear very often, Satsang is not just doing bhajans, Rama, 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 Rama. It is also Satsang. I'm not saying no. But that you are in the company of people who also have the same thought. It's Satsang. In the next part of this line, it says, Bhagavato bhaktir dridhadhiyatam. Bhagavataha bhaktihi dridhadhiyatam. You see adhiyatam occurring many places in this text. In very form. The root word is dha. But many upasarga prefixes are added to that. Give a slightly different meaning each time. May it be cultivated by you. With V, adhiyatam. With different upasarga, it gives you slightly different meaning. May it be cultivated by you. What will be cultivated by you? Bhagavata bhakti. Bhagavataha bhakti. Therefore, satsang, when everybody is doing bhajan, you're also part of the bhajan, is satsang. Because they're all seeking in some form to understand the reality in the form of Bhagavan. There'll be many stages. There'll be people who with no understanding will simply chant, do Nama Sankirtanam. That Nama Sankirtanam will also bless them. But at that stage, they may not know, they may not understand. There are others who have little bit more understanding. You'll see the Neni Bhajan group, you'll see. There are others who will be so taken by the rhythm and the music in there. But they're still doing bhajan, and there is some blessing in that. And as one begins to understand what that is saying, somebody was telling me the other day, they had a lot of difficulty in their own development, their little challenges. And I gave them a little mantra, simple, either Om Namah Shivaya or Om Namo Narayanaya, and explained what it was. Om Namah Shivaya. To Lord Shiva, my namaskara. Namah Shivaya, to Lord Shiva. And a few days later, when I met him, he said, I do this regularly now, it makes so much sense to me. He said, even as I chant Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, my mind is clear and what I'm focusing on. Simple Vayumatra Japa. Om Namah Shivaya. A lot of people do Gayatri Mantra. Even simply saying it aloud or in the mind is also bhakti in a sense. It's also one that will bless one. But when one understands the meaning of what one is asking for, elevates it to a very high level. Bhaktir Dhrida Diyata. So at all these stages, and yesterday I mentioned that even Patanjali Yoga Sutra, similar steps are there as we have in Vedanta. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, all of them, all the way up to Samadhi. There the Patanjali Yoga Sutra focuses on all these steps. The objective is raising the chakra. You do the same thing with Ishvara. It takes it to a different level. But it's helpful because there are many, many people who, particularly non-Indians, who started yoga with some teacher in many parts of the world. And if the teacher is knowledgeable, the teacher will talk about Ishvara. And that there is more to gain in life than simply what you gain from asana, posture. And a lot of them then turn to Vedanta. When we were studying under Puja Swami G, about half of them who came from outside are yoga teachers themselves. So if the teacher opens their mind to thinking, then yoga will also lead them here. Bhaktihi Dhridatara Adhiyatam. And in order to get there, Shantyadhi Parichiyatam. Shanti Adihi Parichiyatam. Some of these root words have very very funny sounds. This root word here is change, to collect. Parichiyatam. May one collect Shanti Adi. One Tikakara also talks of Abhyasyatam as the meaning. Abhyastam, Abhyasa is practice, repeated doing. may one practice Shantyadi. Shantyadi here means Shamadamadi. When you say Shamadamadi, it immediately reminds us of what he's talking about. Shama, Dama, Uparati, Titiksha, Shraddha, Samadhanam. Similar to the yoga sequence of things. Practice these 6 qualities till one gains them. These are part of the adhikaritvam requirement. Sadhana chatushtaya, 4-fold means for the sadhana is given in Tattva Bodha. Viveka, Vairagya, Shramadamadi Shatka Sampattihi, and Mumukshutvam. Necessary conditions. They put mumuksha then, but I would put mumuksha right at the beginning. Without mumuksha, none of these will happen. So Viveka, Vairagya, interrelated. Viveka is dispassion. By Bhavasukhe dosho anusandhiyatam. Dosha anusandhiyatam. Recognizing the limitations of any kind of laukika sukha. Gain vairagya, dispassion. And cultivate the 6-fold sampattihi. Daiva sampattihi we see in Bhagavad Gita in the 16th chapter. What are those sampattihi? Shama, Dama, Uparama, Titiksha, Shraddha, and Samadhanam. Shama is mano nigraha, an ability to take charge of the mind. It goes with Dhamma. Dhamma is Chakshushadi Bahyendriya Nigraha. Control over the organs of action. Should I take one more gulab jamun? I'm already diabetic. I've taken 2 gulab jamun. Should I take one more? The hand is reaching out to hold with the other hand. That will not solve the problem. But that is Dhamma, and Dhamma cannot happen without Shama. And by control over the mind, one stops the mind from going back again and again to that same Vishaya. Why does Shastra advocate this? Uparama. Because if the mind keeps going back to that Vishaya, Indriya Vishaya, then it is a sure short ladder going down. Snake, if you go playing snake and ladders, it is the one that will take you all the way back to number 1. Dhyayato Vishayan Punsaha Sangasteshu Pajayate. Dhyayato Vishayan, you keep going back to that, despite the fact you have once controlled the mind. Ayato Vishayan Punsa Sangasteshu Pajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha Kamat Krodo Vijayate Krodo Bhavi Samoha Samoha Siti Brahma Siti Brahmat Buddhirat. End of it. It is back to one. Therefore, Uparati becomes critical. Titiksha. He has not used all these words, but simply said Shantya Adi, Adi. All these are included. Titiksha is to accept things that you cannot change without repeatedly complaining. You hear sometimes people say, oh, this time they've already crossed summer. They're into autumn. Weather's become real pleasant. All the leaves are falling. Nice breeze is blowing. But they keep saying, oh, this time summer was horrible. All the way from April, May, June, I had a miserable time. Oh, you had a miserable time, it's gone. No, forget it. Or, my God, I'm dreading the coming of May. Agni Nakshatram will come. It is 2 months away. But you already started complaining. And of course, during that, you can't stop this. I know some people who will complain under any circumstance. They just can't stop complaining. Can you change the summer? When I think about it, I think of the wonderful serenity prayer of Alcoholics Anonymous. They're doing some wonderful work across the world. It's an institution to help people who recognize that they have a problem. If you don't recognize the problem, then you'll never get a solution. But if they recognize the problem and go to Alcoholics Anonymous, they help the person by showing that others have similar problem and others also tackling it. And one of the prayers they have is called Serenity Prayer. Very beautiful prayer. Give me the strength to change what I can, and the wisdom to accept what I cannot, and the knowledge to know the difference between the two, what I can, what I cannot change. That is titiksha. And since we are talking about Atma Jnanam, I have Atmecha. Where is it going to come from? Atmecha will only come from one source. There's only one source of knowledge of Atma. And that has been established by all kinds of logic and arguments. And that is Upanishad. There is no other source of knowledge for the same. But unfortunately, even the Upanishad has been classified by Mundaka Upanishad as not being that Vidya, called Apara Vidya. The Vidya that will give you para knowledge. It is not that. Swami, you just now said that is the only way of learning, only source of knowledge. Yes. The words of the Upanishad by themselves are Aparavidya. All the 4 Vedas totally it's been called Aparavidya. What if somebody teaches? Does it become Paravidya? Depends upon who is teaching. That also they define very clearly. But that Shraddha has to be in the Guru Shastra Vakyeshu Vishwasaha. It always go together. Upadesha of the Shastra unfolded by a Guru who is a qualified Guru. Who is a qualified Guru? Not one who has got a double MA or a PhD, but who is a Shrotriya Brahmanistha. Shantyadi Parichiyatam. May one collect, may one practice Samadhamadi Shakka Sampatti. May these be practiced by one. Because without this, the mind and the body will always go elsewhere. And having now prepared one by saying Nijagraha Turnam Vinirgamyatam, Shantya Satsangam also you develop. You also develop these 6 qualities. Shantyadi Parichiyatam. Acharya enters into the last stage of maturity and growth. Pakvam. Dridataram karmashu santyajyatam. Earlier he already said kamya karma, give up. To a certain understanding that that is not what you want, because that has dosha. Every kamya karma, the gains that you make, bhavasuke dosho nusandhiyatam. Give up kamya karma. Give up kamya karma, what is left? Vihita karma. That is said, please follow. Ido nityam adhiyatam taduditam karma svanushthiyatam. All the Vihita karma may you follow. Now, having crossed these 3 stages, brahmacharyam, grihastham and vanaprasthaṃ, Acharya says, Dridataram karmashu santyajyatam. Give up those karma also. He is clearly saying time for taking sannyasa. Our own Shastra tells us that if you are clear, if you are prepared, if you've got the Samadhamadi Satka Sampatti, if we have mokṣattvam, if you also have gained a level of maturity to know that moksha is only jnanam, that means you have taken charge of ragadvesha. They are no more highway robbers for you. You have nothing that they can take away. Then Shastra itself gives us the freedom from all Vihita karma. No more karma is necessary. The person concerned is completely prepared, focused entirely on Atmecha, has already given up mindness, mamatvam, has acquired Shantyadi through repeated practice by being in company of Satpurusha, people with similar stage of their evolution. May you may even the vihita karma that I prescribed for you earlier be given up. Dridataram, he also adds the word dridataram. Dridataram karmashu santirjitam. Ashu, the vihitam karma you give up to focus only on jnanam. You have a limited 24 hours in a day. In that 24 hours, except for the time when you're sleeping, even sleeping, you first do certain mantras and go to sleep. Except for the time, you only focus on this Atma-jnana. No karma is prescribed. Otherwise, if we look at the karma that is prescribed for a grihastha, there is no time for anything. You've got to keep doing all the time. And a vanaprasthi will be doing upasana all the time and some karma. Look at the beauty of the structure. In the first stage, you learn what is the structure of life. Because at that time, one doesn't have enough maturity to understand life. But you simply gain the knowledge. Then you focus on doing, being productive part of the society, being part of the whole samsara. Then you reduce karma and increase upasana. The final stage, drop karma also. And when that focus is only on this jnanam, nothing else has a place in one's life. Become a sannyasi. Immediately the thought comes to my mind, or everybody's mind, the stage I am in today, can I become sannyasi? If this is what is required to gain that knowledge, and that gaining that knowledge is what is the goal of life, like Arjuna, why should I not take sannyasa now? What are the obstacles in the process of taking sannyasa? Am I ready for sannyasa? But how can I give up all these little things? All the things that have so much value for me, that have had values for me so far. Material things, relationships, all those things that I'm clinging to. Am I ready to give them up? Am I ready to wear vastra, go to a guru, take formal sannyasa, take a dip in the Ganga, let the vastra go? Am I ready? If I'm not ready, that means I don't get mokṣā. On the one hand, I'm very clear that is what I want. On the other hand, you say that I must become sannyasi to get that. Sannyasa doesn't necessarily mean a formal taking of ochre clothes. A formal going to a guru and doing all the rituals to become a sannyasi. That is the best way. And eventually there is no other way. But in the stage one is in life, one can also take a sannyasa manasika. All attachments are dropped, except the attachment to the truth. Therefore, one can become a sannyasi in spirit if the preparation is complete. If one is going still holding some longings in the mind, if the process of karma yoga is not complete, if raga dvesha still have a lot of pull, then even manasika sannyasa is difficult. One has to practice over time. That is why shantyadhi parichiyatam. So, the necessary condition is that all these steps should have been taken. Whether one physically takes to sannyasa or not, formally, these steps, if they are taken, if one is clear on all of these and one is practiced enough, satsang, one is practiced enough in terms of understanding and giving up the valuelessness of the laukika sukha, then one is ready for manasika sannyasa. The world may or may not recognize because you don't have the external linga. But one could still be a sannyasi in thought and spirit. You also have the people the other way around. There are people who will wear these external symbols, carry a kamandalu perhaps. They are not sannyasis. Not in the sense of the word that we are trying to understand sannyasa. Even if the person has taken formal sannyasi, gone to a guru, may not be an Vedanta guru, maybe a astrology guru for all you know. But it's given him kavi. If that person does not understand that he is seeking that highest truth, which is I, the truth is I, and that is what I'm seeking, then even the kavya vastra does not make him a sannyasi. In Bhajagovindam, Acharya says, Jatilo mundit lanchita keshaha kaya kashayambara bahukruta veshaha pashyannapi na pashyati moodaha yudara nimittam bahukruta veshaha. That is only vesha. You pull your all hair out. That's how the Buddhists do this. They become sannyasi, and part of the ritual is pulling out the hair one by one. So it is better to become a Buddhist monk after you've gone bald. You don't have to go through this. It is a painful process. Can you imagine one by one hairs pulled out? All these are external symbolism. I saw something which has never left my mind when I was very young. I was in fact still in school. There's a big newspaper item which said one very rich person had decided to become a monk. So he called a lot of people, hired a stadium, big stadium, okay. And I suppose he gave them food and whatever else. Otherwise, they may not even come. And formally, in front of all these people, he gave up his material wealth and took to sannyasa and made a big show of it. At that time, I was wondering, boy, why is he doing this? Does he want the world to know that he become sannyasi? There could be another reason. There may be remnants of ichcha still left in him, bhava sukha. And he's trying to force himself to say that I have to drop that also. It's a charitable explanation. But what occurred to me at that time was, why is he trying to make an exhibition of this? kashambara, matted hair, all that are external symbolism. One can live the life of a sannyasi if one has done all these previous steps. Atmecha is clear. Bhavasukha doshaha are understood. One has really mentally given up possessions, even if legally you hold possessions. One has done all the previous steps. Kamya karmas have been given up. Then one can continue to be here and still be a manasika sannyasi. Sannyasa, what is the purpose? We said its purpose is to gain that moksha jnana. Focus entirely on that moksha jnana. If karma, which has been specified earlier by the Veda, at different stages of one's growth, the vihita karma, the swakarma, if one has all done that correctly, if one has done all the upasana that one is expected to do, if one has done all the thinking through Shravana Manana and is clear on the objectives, at that stage, if one is sure that one will not slip back, then karma and upasana have done their job. A banana has a skin. And without the skin, the banana will not ripen. Remove the skin, the banana cannot ripen. But having ripened, what use is the banana? You don't need it. So you can discard it. Like that, you can think of many examples. Karma and upasana have done what they were supposed to do, which is get one ready. The preparation is thorough. They have no more role to play. Then, when one does karma also, that karma is a karma yoga, not a karma anymore. And therefore does not have the power to cause disturbance. Therefore, shantyadi can be preserved. If one has understood in spirit, when amongst the people who studied along with us and before us, some have continued to remain as a grasta. But for all practical purposes, they are also sannyasis. For them, where they live, that graha is an ashrama. On the other hand, a person who lives in an ashrama with these clothes, for him, it may not be ashrama, maybe samsara. So one could remain maybe as a vanaprasthi, maybe even as a grasta, but still spend their entire time in only sangasastu, in contemplation, in shravana, manana, nididhyasana, in puja. They may still do a few things, but they do it with a detachment of attachment. Because their preparation is thorough. Shantyadhi parichiyatam dridataram karmashu santyajyatam. Ashu means quickly, immediately. And dridataram, completely and totally those may be given up. Bhita karma are no more a bandhanam. Where as a grihastha, you have to do certain rituals before sunrise. Certain rituals at various points in time. As Agnihotri, a grihastha who does Agnihotra, he has to preserve that flame. Every day for the yajna, the same flame is used to start the flame, start the fire. That flame has to be maintained through one's life. And at the end of the life, when they go to the cremation ground, the same flame is used to light the funeral pyre. All these are karma. Remember the Panchamahayajna we saw, all karma. One has to do all the karmas. Brahma yajna, Deva yajna, Pitru yajna, Bhuta yajna. All of them have to be done. But even if one does some of that, see, for example, if a person has reached the stage already, what, step 12, he may still do Pitru karma. But he is no more bound by it. He will still do because it is done for Pitrus, for the ancestors. He does it because it is karma to be done. Not given it up. He has not taken formal sannyasa. But still, such a person may be sannyasa in his mind, in his thinking. Therefore, dridataram karma ashu santyajyatam. Here you have upasarga san, some really. Samyak tyajyatam. Give them up totally, take the sannyasa. Whole process is sequential and clear. So with this, Acharya has covered all the stages. Brahmacharyam, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and either formal sannyasa or manasik sannyasa. Then what should one do? We will see it next week. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.